everybody. Welcome back to the High Roller Sports Betting Podcast. And once again, you're here with Coach and T, and we are ready to break down all the Week 0 and Week 1 big games. Our next game, the last of the 3:30 starts for us on September 3rd, is Oregon versus Georgia. It's on ABC at 3:30. Right now, at time of recording, Georgia is an 18-point favorite, and the over-under is at 50.5. What can you tell us about these two teams, D?
When you're talking about rebuilding versus reloading, this Georgia defense is a perfect example.
Yeah.
They lost a lot defensively.
And I hope their defenders they lost are pretty good because the Packers got two of them.
Yeah.
In the first round.
Georgia, another one, 10-5 ATS last year.
Yeah,
that's because they were so. I mean, it was one of the best defensive units in college football history.
Yes,
they were that good. They only bring back 42% of those tackles, but again, they're reloading, not rebuilding.
Yeah, they're good.
But on the offensive side of the ball, we'll start there with Georgia.
Yeah.
They lose their top two running backs who combined for over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They do return Stetson Bennett, and there's a lot of, not concern within the sports betting community, at least the people I've talked to, but you got to see something from them. I think the fact they won a national title covered up the fact that apart from when he was throwing to Brock Bowers, he didn't have a lot of success fitting a ball into a window.
Yeah, I would agree.
He could hit the over-the-middle guy. He could hit the tight end on the out. He could hit a running back screen. He couldn't hit that tight window throw. Mm-hmm. And now we'll see what their wide receiver room is still going to be good. They return 3 of the top 4, but they lose their top guy to the NFL. We'll see what Bennett can do, but he does still have Brock Bowers, who is one of the best tight ends.
Great tight end.
That especially freshman tight ends. He had I think he even had the best freshman tight end season.
He was good.
He had 13
young
touchdowns.
Man, you can play.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Yep, I agree.
On the defensive side of the ball, as we said, this is a reload, not a rebuild.
Yeah.
They do bring back Nolan Smith, one of their linebackers who turned down going to the NFL to come back. That'll be good because it'll give them that kind of voice defensively.
No.
But when you lose guys like Nakobe Dean and was it Lewis Sign?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you... Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
You lose a lot.
They're good.
But pay attention to the name Jalen Carter. He's the next Georgia D lineman that could be just special.
Okay.
There was even talk he may have been the best defensive lineman on Georgia a year ago.
Wow.
There's not a lot of snaps there.
Yeah.
I really like this kid. I think he will be one of, depending on injuries and production, but it would not surprise me if he's a top 10 NFL draft pick when he's eligible and he ends up going to the NFL. He is that good.
You're really high on him.
They do have a deep rotation at D-line.
Yeah.
Are you going to have Jordan Davis in the middle? No, but they're going to have somebody else that'll fill those shoes.
No, well, maybe not those shoes.
Well,
they're pretty big shoes.
He had a big shoe. But one of the things is they will have one of those elite secondaries again.
Yeah.
Add a first-team All-American from West Virginia into their secondary. If they can avoid the injuries like they've run into in previous years, they'll be really good. And maybe most importantly, Georgia's coaching staff stays intact.
And
we'll get into that when we get to the Clemson game later on, who didn't keep a coaching staff intact.
Yep.
That's a big.
And I'll just my 2 cents on Georgia. They're good. They'll reload. They brought in a lot of talent. They've had a lot of talent that you didn't see, that only the coaches in practice saw. And when you return your entire coaching staff and you've worked with these young guys, your ability to be more efficient and very good early will come into play. And that's why I really like this Georgia team. Even though they lost a ton, they don't have to play Alabama tomorrow, and
Yeah.
that'll be key for them. So, what can you tell me about Oregon?
Oregon lost their top two running backs combined for over 2,000 yards. Dye had just under 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns. Anthony Brown, the other one, had about 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that's a lot of production.
Yeah.
They do add Bo Nix,
Yeah,
quarterback from Auburn,
Yeah.
to kind of step in. But wide receivers are going to be less experienced. They're still going to have the athletes because it's Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon does a phenomenal job at recruiting athletes
Yes, they do.
that fit the system, and we'll see kind of how that changes with a new coach, which I'm interested. I want to get your opinion on that one.
Yeah.
But before we get there, their offensive line brings back everybody except for their left tackle. 86 career starts on the offensive line, so solid.
Yeah.
And the D line returns 4 of their top 6 snap guys. They add in a nice transfer from Nebraska, who started 10 games for the Cornhuskers. Have a couple guys that should be good. Noah Sewell is the big name there.
Yep.
Captain of the defense, the middle linebacker, first team All-American, one of the best linebackers in the country.
He can play.
But now, here's the interesting thing to me about this game. As we talked, what'd you say, Georgia minus 18?
Yeah.
So Oregon's new head coach is Danny Lanning,
Yeah.
the former defensive coordinator at Georgia.
Yeah.
His first game as head coach is against his former team.
Yeah.
Him and Kirby got along, been together a while. Do you think there's any of the I don't want to blow my friend out in his first game if you're Kirby Smart against Lanning in Oregon? Do you think that play? Because 18 is a big number.
18 is a big number. I was not a big believer in full disclosure, not a big believer in Oregon last year. Loved Ohio State this year. I'm not a big believer in Oregon, and I still love Ohio State and the team they bring to the table. And let me tell you, I lost a good chunk of change on that game last year.
Yeah, that was an L.
So this one, to me, you add in the friendships, you add in everything that's involved. If I'm the D coordinator, and we talked about the shortcomings of the quarterback from Georgia, not that he's a bad kid.
Great kid and good leader.
Not that he ain't a great player, but if anybody's going to know a lot of his shortcomings, it's one of the coaches on staff that was there last year. So you got to believe Oregon is going to try and take away a lot of what Bennett can do and make him do things he was uncomfortable doing last year. And we'll see. I mean, this is a real show me game. I'm interested to watch this one when we watch games back, and I'm interested to see how the young man from Georgia plays, because he isn't going to face an any cagier defensive system set up to stop him until maybe he reaches Nick Saban in Alabama. I really think it's going to be an interesting game of chess, and that's why I think Oregon keeps it from being a blowout. 18 is a big number, and especially if you don't want to really stick it to your opponent, in that third and fourth quarter. I'm not saying Georgia isn't going to try to score. I'm not saying that at all. But I think you're absolutely right where this is where the back door can come in once again. Georgia may go up 17 and pull the starters going into the fourth quarter. They go up 24, then all of a sudden a backdoor score late in the game to tighten it up a little bit. Now instead of covering and you're singing zippity doo dah and buying everybody a drink at the bar, you're going, how did this ticket not cash? This is what worries me about that. I like Georgia. I really do.
Yes, so
I'm going to be a lot higher on Georgia during the year. You're going to wonder, did this guy go to Wisconsin or did he graduate from Georgia? Because I think that highly of them. They produce. They've been a winner for me. They're always good against the ATS, usually by the end of the year. And we have a saying around here, good teams win, great teams cover the spread.
Yep.
And they've been a great team. So maybe my historical bias is there a little bit. But I like Georgia. But I'm staying away because even though it's a new head coach, it's also that motivation factor. You don't want to go in and get your butt kicked by your former boss.
And if the former boss doesn't want to blow you
Well,
out, because Georgia's not motivated to win this game by 21, they're motivated to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you thinking? What's your outlook on it?
So this game is at a neutral site. Technically,
it's in Georgia. Let's be honest,
they're playing in
folks.
Atlanta.
It'll
this
be
is
80-20
a home game for the Bulldogs.
It'll be 80-20. Don't
Yeah,
get
this will be.
Yeah.
Especially with Oregon being cross country.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, assuming pure neutral site, I've got Georgia north of a 2-touchdown favorite. If you include a home field advantage, I've got it right around where the line is, 17.5 minus 18. So to me, the spread is a stay away.
Yeah.
The total's an interesting one. 51.5 down to 51, 50.5. Not a ton of movement. I do lean the under for a couple reasons. One, Georgia, they don't return a wide receiver outside of Bowers, who had over 500 yards receiving. They don't return those running backs. And I'm not huge on Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
So when you combine that with, I think Georgia's defense is going to be elite again, to me this game screams low 20s. Now, that also then points to you take Oregon plus the points. Now, I'm not willing to do that because Georgia's just got more talent. But I do lean under in this game. Now, if it keeps moving as we get closer to kickoff, that may go from a lean to a completely stay away. I'm not betting it. I don't necessarily have a plan to bet that game at the moment. But I would bet the under if I had to bet anything on this game. But again, I'm kind of staying away. I want to see how Georgia looks against this Oregon team and some of the speed that they bring to the table. I want to see who's going to step up at running back. I want to see Stetson Bennett make those plays, and then later on down the year, we could definitely have some change in numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly.